presentations. Today we're actually going to hear from two different people about two different topics. So continuing upon our journey with ideas and factors that may complicate or may impede our self-love, we're going to be talking today about competition. As athletes, competition is kind of our lives, but is there a such thing as negative competition? Is there a such thing as destructive competition? And then when does it cross the line between being healthy competition and destructive competition? Here to talk to us about that is Coach Kurt.
Okay, so I'm just going to start off with a quote about unhealthy competition. The reason many people in our society are miserable, sick, and highly stressed is because of an unhealthy attachment to things that they really have no control over. So the idea of healthy and unhealthy competition is just you want to make sure that you have competition over something that you have control over, and that's only your own actions. So we constantly compare each other every day. We compare ourselves to other people compare themselves to you. So we're always striving to be something different than what we may have been yesterday and what we might be tomorrow. What forces us to compete with someone or something is the part we have to decide what's healthy or unhealthy. Who are we competing against and what are we competing for? So right now I just want you guys to go ahead and turn to someone next to you and name someone that you have competed with that's been around you. It might be like a sibling, it might be a teammate, it might be someone you played against. Who's someone you competed with? Name what you've competed for and whether you think that that's healthy or unhealthy, okay? You might have said that it was healthy, or you felt that maybe it was unhealthy, but you're not sure. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about. And I'm just going to start off with a story of my own. My freshman year, which most of you, some of my varsity girls have probably already heard this story, but my freshman year coming into volleyball and playing volleyball for the first time, I walked into a gym and everybody in the gym I felt like knew what they were doing. And I was that kid that didn't feel like she knew what she was doing. And I couldn't figure out why. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't jump and hit. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't do what the girl next to me was doing. And all it did was frustrate me. So what I did was I decided I was going to go play club volleyball in the off season. I was like, I have to be able to figure this out. Mind you, I barely made my freshman high school team. You guys go to a school of like 2,500 students. I went to a school of 250, and I barely made my freshman high school team. Sat the bench a ton. I was very frustrated because I was an athlete in everything else, starting player in softball, basketball, everything else, but not volleyball. So it was very frustrating. So I came home one day and I told my dad, I said, hey, I want to quit playing everything else and I just want to play volleyball. He thought I was crazy. He's like, you're not good. And I'm like, that's okay, I'll figure it out. So I did, I figured it out. And by my sophomore year, I was literally in the gym so often, my dad thought I had problems, like serious health, mental problems. I would stay for my practice and then I would stay after and I'd watch girls play after and I would just watch everything they did. Every move they made, every time they were running, every time they were passing a ball, like what their arm did when they were hitting, I just watched. And then every time someone said, hey, you want to go to the gym and go play volleyball? I was like, yes, I'm in. I went every single time. And then by my sophomore year, the coach of the 18s team, like the 18 elite team, was like, hey, why don't you just get up and start playing? I was like, okay. Scared to death. But that wasn't me necessarily competing with other people. I was competing with myself, okay? Because I wanted that bad enough. So I competed for myself because I had goals to be a great volleyball player and a great athlete. They were realistic. I just had to know what I needed to do to meet them, okay? So those are healthy. That's a healthy competition. It was something I had control over. So I could spend time in a gym. I could work harder. I wasn't trying to be better than the people that were on the court. I just knew what I wanted from it, and so I worked hard to achieve that. And I know Karina, who's been talking to you guys, has a lot of the same things from when she was young as well. So I didn't compete with Mother Macaulay. I didn't compete with my teammate. I just wanted to be the best that I could be, and that's what I did to try to achieve that. So that's healthy competition. So unhealthy competition is definitely staying away from all those negative thoughts in the gym that control you. So we talk about this in the book Mind Gym that I know Coach Conrad uses with her girls. I use with a lot of the club girls and with you guys here. One chapter talks about getting rid of negative thoughts. How many people have ever had a negative thought when they're playing volleyball, when they're on the court? Is that when you're playing your best? No. So the example that they give in the book is talking about how a golfer will stand in front of the ball and get ready to hit the ball. And he sits there and says, don't hit it in the water, don't hit it in the water, don't hit it in the water. And then he hits the gosh darn golf ball in the water, right? So in volleyball, it's kind of that same idea. If you say, don't hit the ball in the net, don't hit the ball in the net, don't hit the ball in the net, don't get ace, don't get ace, don't get ace, the likely outcome is that that's going to happen because that's what you're thinking about. It's a negative thought. So you want to think about those positive conversations with yourself on the court. Like, I hope this girl serves to me. That's competing with yourself, okay? You're not competing against that person, but you have to compete sometimes against those negative thoughts for healthy competition, okay? Get rid of them, and then it becomes better, right? Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah, don't hit the ball in the water. No, I'm not going to hit the ball in the water because I'm not thinking about the water, right? Okay, so stay away from negative thoughts. Competition against another player, that's unhealthy, okay? You don't want to compete against a player. You want to compete to your best ability because that player, you can't control, okay? You can't control their actions, and if their actions beat you on the court, then where should you go? To the gym to go practice and figure out how to do better the next time you get on the court, right? So healthy competition, changing that is just making sure that you use those situations to drive you to go learn more and go practice harder and work harder for yourself. Setting too high of expectations. Always make sure your goals and your expectations of yourself are realistic. I knew I walked onto a court one day and I knew I wasn't going to beat Nadia Edwards, who ended up at Penn State, and I watched her break a girl's nose. I knew she was probably going to hit over me. I knew she was probably going to hit past me. I knew she was probably going to block me. But if I could minimize those situations by making sure that my skills were what they should be and making sure my negative thoughts were not on the court with me, that's healthy competition because I can control me, right? I can't control the way she's going to play. And then healthy competition, things that are really good and why we have it is because it drives us to learn. Okay, so it drives you to go back to the gym and work hard for yourself if you want to meet your goals and expectations. It helps you manage your nerves on the court and manage your negative thoughts, take risks, cope when we don't perform well. So it helps you with some coping skills. Teaches you to bring your best effort always. Okay, so controlling your own actions will always teach you to come into the gym and play your best no matter who you're against. No matter if you know it's Mother McCauley, the 18 elite team, whoever it is. If you can come on the court and perform your best, that's your competition. That's your competition with yourself, which is always a healthy competition, okay? Some final points. Just set realistic goals. Make sure that they help you train, prepare, perform, respond, and react to your opponent. Okay, so that's your own actions. Help your team by taking control not only of your actions, but help them to increase their skills of taking control of theirs. So being a good teammate and healthy competition is helping your teammates compete better, right? And helping them to be able to cope with some of those things on and off the court as well. Look at someone next to you and make a commitment to what you will do today or tomorrow to increase your skills to better your performance to help you have healthy competition in the future. Okay, so thinking about that healthy competition, think something that you can take control of, okay? Something that you can control today or tomorrow that will help you compete in the future. What's something that you could commit to do today? Did anybody realize that something that they might have said in the beginning of the presentation might have been something that might have been a little bit unhealthy?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I've had those unhealthy competition situations too. Like, I mean, when I go bowling with a friend of mine and I can't win, I quit. I'm done. I don't want to be there anymore, right? Because I want to win, right? I've had those unhealthy competition situations too. Most of the time with a sibling, right? That happens all the time. Okay, so it's normal because you compete every day in life. You compete for jobs, you compete for sports, academics, everything. You're competing against people to be the best that you can be. So you just want to make sure that it doesn't consume you, okay? And you make sure that it's realistic. The ultimate victory in competition is derived from the inner satisfaction of knowing that you have done your best and that you have gotten the most out of what you had to give, okay? So just make sure it's something that you can control, all right?
I'm here to talk to you guys about a slightly different thing, which is peer pressure. I'm sure, as I see the faces, I'm sure we've all heard about peer pressure before. So I'm going to challenge you guys, take a second, talk to your neighbor, and think about a situation in which you would feel peer pressure. Those are all common situations in which we think about peer pressure. I'm going to give you ladies a hypothetical situation that actually refers more to volleyball. So now imagine yourself, you can close your eyes if you want to. Imagine yourself in this situation. You're on a team and you're kind of a newcomer to this team. There are about, let's say, 10 people on that team. 9 of the girls are standing in a corner and they're all talking and they're all mean to one other girl. There's that one other girl on that team. They're mean to her, they're bullies, they're doing things that don't make you comfortable. They expect you to join them. What do you do? Do you join them just because that's what's popular, or do you dare to take that road less traveled and stand up for your beliefs and stand with that girl who refuses to take part in what they're doing? What do you do in that kind of situation? You can think to yourself just for a second. What would you do? So after you've kind of made this decision of who you would join, there's some good advice that I can give you about decision making. If you're making a decision, imagine what happens after that decision. Imagine telling your parents about that decision, telling your grandparents about that decision, and the entire situation. If you would feel comfortable telling your parents and your grandparents and your friends and your aunts and your uncles and everybody what you did in that situation, then you're probably making the wisest decision. If you're not comfortable doing so, then you might want to rethink where you're going with this decision. Does that make sense to everybody? That you should be proud of your decision for now and for the time to come. Good. Okay. So now, just really quickly, I know since we're talking about peer pressure, and we just talked about refusing to give in to peer pressure, I think it's kind of important to talk about how to politely refuse peer pressure. So at this JKD camp that I mentioned at the very beginning of the presentation that taught me all of this about self-love, we also were taught the refusal skill. And this kind of goes farther for when you are in a situation and you tell somebody no and they keep going and they keep saying, but fine, but it'll be fine, but you'll be fine, don't worry. The first thing that you're going to do in that situation is you're going to continue saying no, but politely. So instead of going no, 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 and then walking away, maybe politely, no, I refuse to do that because, and give them a reason why. If they keep going further with this, that means that they're really, really interested in getting you to do something that you're not comfortable with. And if so, then you start telling them about the consequences. Say, if my parents find out, I'll be grounded, and then if I'm grounded, then I won't be able to talk to you for 2 weeks after school anyway. So why do you want me to do this now? Wouldn't you rather have more time to hang out with me later? Something like that. Afterwards, if they're still pursuing this, you can give another option. So if somebody's asking you to go to a party where you know that there's going to be alcohol, or you know that there's going to be things that make you really uncomfortable, ask them to go frisbee golfing instead. Yeah. If they're still pursuing this option, that's the point where you leave it, you sell it, you leave the door open, and you exit that situation. You sell it by saying, okay, I'm still going to do this. Sorry, I'm not going to go to that party. I'll be frisbee golfing. If you want to join me, you can join me. That's pretty much it. Yeah, frisbee golfing is the best thing I can come up with. So the other thing is, if you're in a situation and this person is really pressuring you to do something, and it's really, really serious, like it's drugs, it's alcohol, it's something like that, where you're so uncomfortable that you refuse absolutely to do that, and they still won't respond to you, there's no shame in walking away from the situation. Politely telling them, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that, and leaving the situation, there's no shame in doing that. So everybody good with that? Even if it's tough, it's usually the right decision. The last thing I want to talk about is, I noticed at the very beginning, when we gave our examples of our peer pressure,
Was there any positive peer pressure that we talked about at all? So there's a stigma against peer pressure, and that basically is that all peer pressure is negative. However, that's not true. There's a thing that's called positive peer pressure, but there's a difference between positive and negative peer pressure. And basically, positive peer pressure is defined as people who are genuinely interested in your own well-being, pushing you to do something that takes you slightly out of your comfort zone. They're pushing you to take a positive risk. And we're going back to this positive risk idea. So you trust, basically, if you're trying to decide whether somebody's giving you positive peer pressure or negative peer pressure, two things. First, trust your gut. Trust what you know. If it's something that's making you so uncomfortable that you would normally refuse to do it, probably not a good idea. Probably not a good idea to follow that person's peer pressure. However, also you can look at motives. If it's a close family member, if it's, say, your brother, and your brother is trying to teach you how to do something new, how to shoot a new basketball shot or something, that's usually pretty harmless, and they usually have your genuine best interest in mind. So basically, you're just evaluating, first trusting your gut, and then second, evaluating the motives of the people who are trying to peer pressure you into something. So going back to this idea of positive peer pressure, I have a story for you guys. Positive peer pressure does exist. And this actually happened when I was at this JKB camp. In addition to learning all of this leadership stuff, as well as the love letters to yourself thing that I talked about earlier, we also did a bunch of fun activities, and one of them was paddleboarding. So, I am not a person who likes water. I am not a water sports person. I am also a person who has a fear of not being able to breathe. So you have that, you combine it with water, and you kind of get drowning. So, not my thing at all. I continued, the girls who were at the camp with me, there were 19 other girls there, and they basically, they all wanted to do it. I was one of the last girls who was like, I really don't want to do it. I really don't want to do this right now. I was scared. So the girls, first they told me, it's okay. If you really don't want to do it, it's okay. We support you, that's fine. But we think it would be a good idea because, honestly, knowing you and knowing you're scared of this, when are you going to try it again? And you're surrounded by safety. You're surrounded by people. So these 19 girls were able to convince me that first, I'd be wearing a safety vest so I wouldn't drown. Second, there are 19 of them, plus 4 other instructors, plus 2 other adults there, so they're all going to be in the water around me. And number 3, that they would take me out with the most experienced paddleboarder there, the girl who does it every single summer. And at that point, I was like, okay, well, I'll be okay with this. I can try it. I was completely afraid. I'm not going to say that I'm going to try it again because that was scary enough the first time. But basically the moral of the story is try something new if you know that it's going to be safe, if you know that there are people around you to support you. And who knows, if you try it, this didn't happen for me, but if you try it, it could be your new favorite thing. So basically, closing thoughts for this are just talking about decision making and discerning between positive and negative peer pressure. Make decisions based upon you, based upon your beliefs, based upon what you think, not what is popular. And also, dare to take that road less traveled. It's tough sometimes to not do what's popular because it's popular. However, you're going to thank yourself in the future. And an ending quote for today, just to kind of set the tone for the rest of camp. This one is by basketball player Tim Duncan, and I think a lot of us have probably heard this one before. It's good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good is better and your better is best. So thank you all for listening and participating today. Let's strive for our best.
Yeah, Karina!